Welcome to our deep dive on international travel for conditional green card holders after divorce. Today we'll explain why travel can be risky in this scenario, how the I-751 waiver works, and the safest sequence to protect your status and re-entry. We will also cover practical documentation strategies, what to expect at the port of entry, and step-by-step planning. Let's get started, and then we'll move smoothly into the agenda so you know what's coming up. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll outline what's at stake and why this topic requires caution. Next, we'll share a brief but crucial disclaimer. Then we'll cover conditional status basics, the risks at the border, and the safest course of action. We'll follow with an evidence checklist, a comparison of traveling now versus waiting, an approximate timeline, and contingency steps if travel is unavoidable. We'll test your understanding with a brief quiz, and finally wrap with key takeaways. Now let's move into the disclaimer to set expectations. This content is educational and not legal advice. Immigration rules and agency practices can change and can be applied differently based on your facts and location. Always consult a qualified immigration attorney for personalized guidance before making travel or filing decisions. With that in mind, let's transition to what's at stake and why caution is warranted. Although a conditional green card technically permits travel until it expires, the end of the marriage that formed the basis of that status fundamentally changes the risk profile. At the port of entry, CBP can scrutinize your admissibility and the basis of your residence. Secondary inspection is possible, and if information is inconsistent or documentation is lacking, the stakes can include extended questioning or rare but serious outcomes like detention. Next, let's ground ourselves in the basics of conditional status and the I-751 waiver. A conditional green card is valid for 2 years. If the marriage ends before conditions are removed, you must file Form I-751 with a waiver based on the terminated marriage. Instead of a joint filing, you submit alone and carry the burden to show the marriage was entered into in good faith. Once you file, the I-751 receipt extends your conditional resident status automatically, currently for up to 48 months beyond the card's expiration, though you should verify the latest USCIS policy. Although travel remains technically possible, post-divorce, your profile becomes riskier until the conditions are removed or you at least have the receipt in hand. Now that we have the basics, let's discuss exactly where the risk concentrates at the border. Risk peaks at the port of entry. CBP officers can send you to secondary inspection to examine your admissibility and the basis of your conditional status. They may ask detailed questions about the marriage's history, the timing and circumstances of the divorce, and your evidence of a bona fide marriage. If your documentation is sparse or your answers are inconsistent, scrutiny may intensify. Although detention is rare, it is a possible outcome in extreme cases. Accordingly, many attorneys recommend avoiding international travel until your conditions are removed, or, at a minimum, you have filed your I-751 waiver and hold the receipt. Next, we'll visualize a prudent timeline so you can plan the order of operations. This timeline highlights a conservative sequence. Once the divorce is final, collect your evidence of a good faith marriage. File the I-751 waiver as soon as possible, preferably well before your conditional green card expires. Upon filing, USCIS issues a receipt that extends your status, currently up to 48 months beyond the printed expiration date, though verify current policy. If your card is expired and you need to travel or work, an ADIT, also called an I-551 stamp, can be obtained by appointment to serve as temporary proof of permanent residence. The safer window for travel opens after you receive the I-751 receipt, and the safest is after approval when your conditions are fully removed. Up next, let's break down a step-by-step action plan. Here's the safest course. First, file the I-751 waiver immediately after the divorce. Delaying increases risk and reduces your margin for error. Second, assemble strong evidence that your marriage was in good faith. This is the heart of your waiver. Third, watch for the USCIS receipt notice and read it carefully to confirm the extension period. Fourth, avoid travel until at least you have the receipt. The most conservative approach is to wait for full approval. Fifth, if your physical card is expired or you need extra proof, request an ADIT stamp by appointment. Sixth, when you eventually travel, bring a thorough packet of documentation. Finally, if questioned, answer directly and honestly, keeping your responses consistent with your filings. Now let's detail exactly what to put in that evidence binder. Your binder should make it easy for an officer to see the marriage was genuine. Include joint bank statements and tax returns where available, insurance naming each other, and jointly held assets or liabilities. Provide leases or mortgages, utilities, and mail demonstrating shared residences. Add life-together evidence such as photos with context, travel itineraries, and relevant messages. Affidavits from people who knew you as a couple can help. Include the divorce decree and a clear timeline so an officer understands the sequence of events. Round out the package with proof of your ties to the United States, employment letters, pay stubs, and community involvement. A short cover letter that organizes the evidence and narrates the bona fides can be very helpful. Next, we'll compare the risks of traveling now versus waiting. Traveling immediately after divorce, even with an unexpired conditional green card, exposes you to elevated risk at the border. You are more likely to face secondary inspection, will need to produce substantial evidence, and could encounter delays or rare serious consequences. By contrast, waiting to file the I-751 waiver and then postponing travel until you have the receipt, or ideally until approval, significantly reduces scrutiny and offers stronger legal footing. The trade-off is time, but the benefit is peace of mind and a safer re-entry profile. Next, let's translate this into a quick reference table of documents and their purpose. This table maps each document to its purpose and utility. An unexpired conditional green card is technically valid for travel, but post-divorce it carries higher risk. The I-751 receipt extends your status and helps mitigate concerns, especially if your card is expired. The I-551 ADIT stamp serves as temporary proof of permanent residency when needed. The divorce decree is not a travel document, but clarifies the change in marital status and timing. Finally, your evidence binder is not a travel document either, yet it is key to supporting the narrative that the marriage was in good faith. Now, if travel cannot be avoided, let's lay out a contingency plan. If travel is unavoidable, keep the trip short and documented with a round-trip ticket. Carry your passport, your conditional green card, the I-751 receipt, and an ADIT stamp if your card is expired or you need extra proof. Include a copy of your divorce decree and a well-organized evidence binder. Prepare concise, consistent explanations of your ties to the United States, employment, lease, vehicle registration, and community links. Arrive early at the airport and mentally prepare for potential secondary inspection. After you return, continue monitoring your case and file any required address updates using AR-11. Next, let's practice with a quick quiz to reinforce the safest order of operations. Question: what is the safest approach to international travel after a divorce if you hold a conditional green card? Option A: travel as long as the card has not expired. Option B: file the I-751 waiver first and wait for approval or at least the receipt before traveling. Option C: do nothing and rely on strong ties to the U.S. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is to file the I-751 waiver first and wait for approval or at least the receipt before traveling. This approach provides an extension of status and a stronger basis for admissibility at re-entry. Now that we've clarified the conservative strategy, let's reinforce what the receipt actually does. Question: what does the I-751 receipt notice do for your status? Option A: it grants citizenship. Option B: it extends conditional resident status beyond card expiration and shows your case is pending. Option C: it removes conditions immediately. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is that the I-751 receipt extends conditional resident status beyond the physical card's expiration and confirms your case is pending. At present, USCIS policy extends status for up to 48 months beyond the expiration, but always verify the current language on your receipt and USCIS updates. Next, let's visualize what can happen at the port of entry so you can be prepared. This sequence diagram shows a typical interaction. You arrive and present documents at primary inspection. If your profile triggers questions, such as being a conditional resident post-divorce, you may be routed to secondary inspection. There, CBP can request your passport, green card, I-751 receipt, divorce decree, and any supporting evidence. Your role is to provide consistent, truthful, concise answers that align with your filings. CBP then decides whether to admit you as a lawful permanent resident or continue review. If admitted, you exit inspection. If review continues, be prepared for longer processing. Now, to consolidate everything, let's hit the key takeaways. The main points are as follows. Travel after divorce with a conditional green card is inherently riskier. File your I-751 waiver immediately to stabilize your status. The I-751 receipt extends your conditional resident status and can reduce border concerns. The safest time to travel is after approval. A conservative minimum is after you receive the receipt. Always carry a well-organized evidence binder and keep your statements consistent. If your card is expired or you need stronger proof, obtain an ADIT stamp, and remember, consult a qualified immigration attorney for case-specific advice. To wrap up, we'll summarize the plan from start to finish. In summary, once the divorce is final, gather strong good faith evidence and file the I-751 waiver quickly. Track your receipt, which extends your status. Avoid international travel until at least you have that receipt. The safest option is to wait for approval. If your card is expired or you need additional proof, request an ADIT stamp. When you do travel, bring a robust packet and maintain a consistent, truthful narrative. After your trip, follow up on your case and file an AR-11 if your address changes. Finally, let's close with an invitation to stay connected and keep learning. Thank you for watching. If this was helpful, please like the video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more practical immigration guides. We'd love to hear your experience and questions in the comments. Your insights may help the next traveler make a safer decision. See you in the next video.